this video, I will show you all how I turned my $45 starter pack into a capital-sized Polaris. When it came to the Polaris contract, it was done almost entirely solo. That's if you don't count the couple of items I might have traded on a player-made marketplace. Other than that, and the people who may have helped me get my first ships and starter money, I was entirely alone while evading Idris frigates, who would fight over the laser and valuable resources in the area, or when I would have to clear caves of players mining rare gems. Don't even get me started with the Quantanium mining. So let's go back to the last full progression wipe, when they added the new Pyro star system, and I would have to restart from just my starter ship. Almost everything I got would persist and accumulate to me being able to solo farm for the Polaris. With most of my money coming from the Headhunter faction in Pyro, I would try to farm what I thought would be enough to go back to Stanton and buy a better ship. And with being so new to the game still, I would honestly buy any ship that looked visually appealing. This led to me buying the Anvil Arrow, as well as upgrading it with attrition laser repeaters at the time. This would allow me to get even more money in Pyro without having to run from every player I encountered. I would soon find and upgrade the Arrow with NDB neutron repeaters found in Pyro's PvP contested zones. This is also when I found out that within the contested zones are also 7 different comp boards that give you access at a chance to get one of 5 ships within the executive hangars. So after doing some research and finding out most of this can be achieved with FPS combat, I got my brother to help. Eventually getting a good understanding of both the contested zones and the routes you would need to take. We would farm the comp boards and fight other players over access into the executive hangars, trying to acquire all 5 ships for both me and my brother. My brother pulled the Executive Hornet Mark II in his first hangar. We would come back claiming ship after ship after ship, until I decided to give up on the Hornet. I mean, I literally acquired every grade A military or stealth component, including the size 3 quantum drive that would go onto my Polaris. To this day, I still have the 4 executive Cutlass I got as well as a Corsair, but never have I returned for the other ships. For about a month or 2 after this, I didn't really have a goal. I was just playing a space game that I had a decent amount of money and ships in. I'd do random missions, buy new ships, or even take part in a little solo piracy. Around this time, there was the event where a resource named Datatrine would sell for a decent amount of cash. I saw this event as the opportunity to make free money as a solo. And with some experience in the game Sea of Thieves, I guess you could say this wasn't my first time hiding on someone's ship. And seeing that this ship had multiple rooms, each having its own bathroom, I thought that would be the perfect place to stow away. This would later almost compromise the successful piracy of this ship. The person flying the ship just closed and locked all doors just before takeoff. I got worried I'd never break the door open. It got to the point that I started shooting the door, but to no avail. I soon found out you had to shoot the door pad, and not the door directly. I had thought the pilot would have heard me shooting, but when I arrived to the cockpit of the ship, they were still flying. The rest is history. But then the game changed. They started adding more content. An alien mission giver named Wicklow, who would exchange various items including rare gems, and in return give you loot that could only be acquired from him. These gems only spawned in the caves under 4 orbital lasers that would need to be fired to open the caves. Some had said it was supposed to be PvE, where players would come together and split the riches, but it turned out to be a bloodbath with some of the biggest organizations in the game battling over the valuable gems coming out of the hole. Long story short, I just wanted the cool-looking armor Wicklow had at the time.
Welcome.
I'd soon find out Wicklow would start trading a Polaris for tons of requirements, one being a full set of that armor I wanted. So I would get after the last few things I needed: the Quantanium to turn into Polaris bits, 60 Wicklow favors, whatever gems I still needed from the hole, and 1 pristine war service marker. This last one would have me rethinking my decisions. I would change the way I approached the area, as most of the time I used hoverbikes. Other times I'd eject straight out of my light fighter close enough to the ground. My favorite? Orbital dropping with hoverbikes, as the gravity on this planet was low enough to survive the landings. When I was searching thousands of little blue boxes for a single pristine metal, I decided I would collect almost every other metal, damaged or worn, to see just how many I would get before getting the one I needed. You can go ahead and slow the video down if you'd like to see just how many I got, but just know I had to clean out pages of these things when the patch after stored all of them at my home location. As for the gems that were exclusive to those areas, I'd say almost every operation went smooth. I just wish this was one of those operations where I made a mistake of a lifetime. After taking those 3 out, I should have just ran with what gems I could carry, but I got greedy. Can't remember why I wanted to make it to the bridge, but I remember that was the plan. And this is how it all failed. At this point I had everything but the Quantanium, so I would search the best mining builds and what mining ship was the best for quant mining, and I ended up with the Mole. This had to have been the most boring and entertaining thing I've done in this game, and if it wasn't for it being Quantanium, I probably would have stopped out of boredom. When mining Quantanium, you are given a limited amount of time to get it back to a refinery before it becomes unstable and you can lose or damage your ship. After it was all refined, I was pretty much a space trucker hauling my own cargo from point A to point B, until I had all the Quantanium in one station. I would then trade all the Quantanium into Polaris bits, still using the Corsair I got from executive hangars. I would do the same thing with scripts, but I would be trading them in for Wicklow favors. I'll save that solo farm for another video, but I solo farmed looking for trouble and tactical strike. I could start to see the end of my own journey, but I was worried. Players reported turning stuff into Wicklow, just for it not to progress on the contract and they would lose that item they turned in. So I made sure to turn in the stuff little by little to ensure everything loaded properly. And before I knew it, I had my very own Polaris. But not even 2 weeks later, they had changed the requirements for the Polaris, making it even harder to get. I'd say to the point it's not acquirable solo anymore. You need to now get 20 times the amount of pristine metals I got. 20 Apex Valakar pearls, 20 Apex Valakar fangs, and 10 Scourge railguns, on top of some few other things. The only thing that got reduced was the Polaris bits from 60 to 25, meaning you have to mine less Quantanium than before. But I don't know, maybe it's balanced. Let me know in the comments what you think about these contract changes. If you happen to watch this far into the video, I really appreciate it, as this took me forever to unlock. But with this video coming to an end, let me know if there's any content you'd like to see, like how I solo farm my money currently, or what method of script farming did I use. Other than that, I'll catch y'all in the stars, citizen.